listeners! As you know, Josh has been on a mission to destroy the set of the Netflix original series involving street racing and obstacle courses. Well, this week, Brian and I were tasked with finding anyone who greenlit the series and explain to them that street racing does not have obstacle courses. So, we wanted to do a throwback to our March Patreon exclusive retro review of Green Lantern. A little backstory about this retro review. It was done in honor of the release of Captain Marvel, and I was sick during the recording process, so my voice wasn't great. But you know what was great? This episode! So if you like what you hear, be sure to head over to our Patreon and become a member today. Get amazing content like this and some exclusive early access. So, without further ado, Jimmy, roll the thing.
Welcome to the club, 'cause you're that kind of nerd.
Welcome to your retro review of Green Lantern, starring Ryan Reynolds when he met his future wife, Blake Lively, who's just so lovely.
She is extremely lovely.
This is a movie that the three of us have watched multiple times. It is a movie, and we are going to discuss it ad nauseum, I imagine.
So, I'm going to acknowledge the elephant in the voice here. My voice is dying and not doing too well. So
You've got an elephant in your voice?
yeah, I do. His name
Okay.
is his name is Hal.
Wow.
He's not very good at this. The reason we're Brian, can you tell the people why we're watching Green Lantern this month? Why is this the retro review?
Dear Patreon subscribers, in my infinite wisdom when thinking about the retro review, I said, what was the biggest event happening in March? And I know what you're thinking, and no, it's not St. Patrick's Day. Although, green St. Patrick's Day, just a pure happenstance.
Mm-hmm.
What did happen this month was we got a movie about a pilot who becomes a spacefaring hero by the name of Captain Marvel.
Sure did.
And I thought, what better opposite to have and review in our retro review than to watch Green Lantern starring Ryan Reynolds. For those of you who have never heard of Green Lantern, movie came out in 2011. As we said, stars Ryan Reynolds. It is the synopsis, if you could say that, is sworn to preserve intergalactic order. The Green Lantern Corps has existed for centuries. Its newest recruit, that's the word, Hal Jordan, played by Ryan Reynolds, is the first human to join the ranks. The Green Lanterns have little regard for humans, who have thus far been unable to harness the powers of the ring each member wears. But Jordan, a gifty and cocky test pilot...
A gifty?
Gifty. Ha!
He's a gifty and cocky test pilot.
But Jordan, a gifted and cocky test pilot, may be the Corps' only hope when a new enemy called Parallax threatens the universal balance of power.
It's staying as gifty, just so you know.
I am tired. This is based on a DC comic book from originally the 40s that was then resurged and brought back in the 70s into its current iteration. It is directed by Martin Campbell, I believe.
Yes.
With a screenplay written by people such as Greg Berlanti and Mark Johnson and Jeff Johns and Martin Campbell.
Buckle in for this ride, guys.
I have thoughts, but I will reserve them for right now.
I do too. This movie was probably 2 to 3 years too early. And I say it because Arrow debuted in 2012, so a year plus later, and Flash was a year after that, I think. So it was just too early. It may have been way better if it were 2-3 years later.
Yeah, I can see that. This also, you could do the other way. This may have come out a little too late. Right, this was on the tail end of Iron Man, and if they would have started maybe the DC side of this,
DC's not on the same calendar.
No,
DC's not on the same schedule.
But this movie was supposed to be the start. This movie was the idea was okay.
Did anybody think this was going to be as big as Iron Man?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes,
oh my God.
they did.
No.
That's
So,
the
Josh, the
thing.
sequels to this movie were greenlit before the movie even
My
premiered.
God, who thought this was going to be? It's nowhere close.
And there were initially going to be Clark Kent cameos in this movie that were cut out.
Mhm.
This movie was supposed to launch a DCEU that Marvel, equivalent to what Marvel was doing. But here's
No.
what I'll say.
No.
I completely forgot everything about this movie, except for how much I don't like the suit. And upon a rewatch, it's not as bad as I remember, but it's
What's your
not
problem with
good.
the suit?
It's not good.
It's we'll get into the problems with the suit because I have problems with the suit as well. I need to be very clear. I love this character. This is actually outside of Batman my favorite DC character.
Oh, Green Lantern's amazing. Yeah.
And I got into the Green Lantern comic book a couple years before this movie came out with Jeff Johns' run, and it just was an amazing story. And I wanted this movie to be good. Now, I'm going to say this up front as well. When I rewatched it just now, I watched the extended version, so there's some
too.
extra
Me
things.
too. Yep.
Okay, so we all are talking about the same movie.
Yep.
Great. I remember seeing this in the theater and really trying to find reasons to like it and justify its existence because it was getting so poorly received. And this movie had a troubled production. The reason that there are 5 credited screenwriters on there is because there was like 6 different versions of the script. And what we started with was probably a really good script from Jeff Johns, who has movie experience. He started his career working as an assistant to Richard Donner on the Superman movies before he got into comic book writing and everything. And that script got cannibalized and rewritten, and pieces were torn out and pieces were put in here, and they fit in, and it shows. This movie there's a lot. There's way too much in it for a 2-hour movie. It's choppy. It has direction issues. It has story issues. The one thing that I will continually stand by in this movie that I really enjoy is the actors.
They had a ton of star power.
And more importantly, forget about the star power. I think they are perfectly cast.
They're good cat. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
good.
I don't disagree with that.
You do a new Green Lantern movie, and you throw Ryan Reynolds in it, and I will watch that all over again.
Well, not just Ryan Reynolds, but I mean Blake Lively, Tim Robbins, even Angela Bassett as Amanda Waller in like an ancillary role, right? And then you had Skarsgård was really solid. Mark Strong as Sinestro.
Mark Strong as Sinestro is amazing.
So
you had Michael
good.
Clark Duncan as Kilowog. You had Jeffrey Rush as Toma Ray.
Yeah, I don't hate any of these castings. That's the crazy thing about this movie is that the cast was so good that the movie should have been better.
There were 3 things I looked up while I was watching the movie because I wasn't interested. Apparently in 1997, Warner Brothers approached Kevin Smith to write a script for this movie, and he turned it down, believing that there were other suitable candidates to make a Green Lantern movie. So would have loved to seen that. Martin Campbell, the director, complained that this is actually not his cut of the movie, but rather the studio's cut of the movie, and said that the studio was interfering heavily with the production of this film.
I'm not surprised by that at all.
No, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked by that at all with DC's track record.
This was my favorite piece. Ryan Reynolds and Martin Campbell clashed repeatedly on the set. Campbell stated in an interview that his first and only choice for the lead was Bradley Cooper, but the studio was not willing to cast him and ultimately told him that he had to cast Ryan Reynolds.
They didn't tell him he had to. They cast Reynolds behind his back without telling him.
I gotta tell you, I don't hate Bradley Cooper as Hal Jordan.
I don't either, but the
I'd
fact
take
of the
Bradley
matter is,
Cooper over Ryan Reynolds as Hal Jordan. As a matter of fact,
I think Ryan Reynolds did a fine job, but
he did a fine job. I'm saying.
You can tell the production is troubled just because of this. Ryan Reynolds is not you're not getting the performance that you could have gotten out of it.
He's not wholesome enough, and I think that Bradley Cooper is.
Oh, I think Ryan Reynolds can absolutely be wholesome enough.
No, he's a dirty fucker. Come on.
I don't agree.
You look at Ryan Reynolds. Everybody looks at Ryan Reynolds and they go, this guy fucks.
Yeah, Waiting, Van Wilder. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, come on.
Yeah, 2011 was not a sophisticated Ryan Reynolds that we had.
No.
Apparently, Ryan Reynolds was consistently critiqued during the movie, forced to do many takes, and at the end, he gave an interview. He said that the experience was so unpleasant that he dreaded doing it again.
Yeah, and then he shredded them in 2 Deadpool movies, so it's just fine.
So listen, that being said, this movie had its problems. It definitely has issues, and it is not good, but there's some really good things in this movie. There are good things, but it is just surrounded by crap.
The sad thing about this movie is you like underneath it all you could see the structure of a good thing, and they just piled so much horrible shit on top of it. It's just really tough to see.
Well, between Parallax and Skarsgård, it was just it was too over the top.
Here's the thing about Parallax, and this is the true believer in me really kind of freaking out. Like, this was also around the time what Fantastic Four Silver Surfer came out not too long before this. Like, apparently every giant space monster was just like this giant cloud, like
globule, just a giant globule in space.
In the comic book,
without shape.
In the comic book, you know, Parallax is the personification of fear, and he takes the form of this giant, like, alien type scorpion monster. He doesn't speak.
He invokes fear.
He invokes fear.
Right.
And he possesses people.
Not a cloud of flatulence floating through
exactly.
The air.
And you could have very easily done like a good Parallax. The Parallax is not a first Green Lantern movie. You find a smaller villain that keeps him grounded on Earth as he's trying to figure out his powers, and you save Parallax for a second movie. Like, this movie needed to be a buddy cop movie between Hal and Sinestro, and it wasn't. It needed to be Lethal Weapon, but with aliens.
But the problem is that nobody actually has ever read any Green Lantern books, and if they did, they'd know that there's a lot of back and forth between Hal and Sinestro, and that story could be told incredibly easily. Except, Brian, you and I are the only 2 people that have ever read any fucking Green Lantern books.
I love Green Lantern,
and my son Christian has read Green Lantern books.
The Sinestro Hal relationship is so complex. You could do an entire movie about that. You're talking about
you could do a series of movies about
they're best friends, but
it's
they're
akin.
Like,
it's akin to Anakin and Obi-Wan. I swear to God, it's the same story.
It is the same story, and they completely did a disservice to it in this movie. That's one of the things that upsets me about this movie.
Well, especially when you think about Sinestro departing from the code, like just going. You know what? Will isn't the thing. It's about fear. And I think we need to focus on Sinestro would never it wouldn't enter his mind.
The funny thing about it is that like he has a line in this movie about fighting fear with fear. And I'm like, that doesn't really seem to make any sense.
Right.
Like we've established for the first hour and a half of this movie how Will is the strongest force. Why?
And I do love Mark Strong as Sinestro, and I do think he did the best with what he had written for him, but Sinestro could have been so much better.
Here, I'll say this: I love Mark Strong, and I like the Sinestro character. I am going to say, Brian and Josh, unfortunately, you guys got a little bit of that true believer filter on it, because when he says, "Well, let's fight fear with fear," why don't we use fear? Yeah, and when he's talking to the council of whatever they are,
the Guardians,
about that, to me that didn't seem as out of character as you guys think it was, only because this is the first time I've ever been introduced to this guy, so it didn't seem weird,
right? But CJ, didn't it sound weird being as for the first hour we've established how important Will is?
Well, no.
The first time you're introduced to Sinestro, he's introduced as essentially a guy willing to compromise everything. That's not Sinestro.
No, it's not. However, You see the desperation of that guy just going, 4 of my brothers are killed. There's going to be more dying. I watched somebody use fear, and it's a powerful weapon. Why don't we use this powerful weapon? It really is the equivalent of saying, hey, I know that we're believing in, spreading truth and justice in the American way. Why don't we just try bombing somebody to fucking Kingdom Come? It's the same equivalent, and it didn't seem off to me. That's why when they reveal him at the end, wearing the yellow ring and being the bad guy, I was like, oh, all right, I buy this. Like, I see a guy who has put his life into living by their code, only to watch everyone he knows die, to go, well, why the fuck am I living by this code? It's not working.
But there is that storyline, but it didn't happen.
It comes about a very different way.
It was very gradual. Like, Sinestro didn't go that way in the blink of an eye. It didn't happen that way. And like,
I didn't see it happen in a blink of an eye.
I don't know. Maybe I'm I love the story so much, Brian, that I can't.
I know. I agree with you.
I can't just go, that's not fun. Like, it's not okay.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is that, like, the right way to do this movie is you have that gradual turn of Sinestro, and you have Sinestro be a villain in the second and third movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you have an entire movie of him and Hal being friends, him training him. You do a buddy cop Lethal Weapon in space. That's how this movie should have gone.
They dismissed it. It wasn't like Sinestro never gave him the time of day, which is a total betrayal of the character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They had that fight on O or whatever.
Oa.
They had the fight on Oa, and he's like, yeah, you're not very good. You should leave. And he's like, okay, bye. And that was the end of their interaction.
It was just,
They had like one good scene together, and then was out.
The thing is, Sinestro was so pivotal in Hal's development that the way they told the story doesn't make any fucking sense to me. I shouldn't be as angry about it as I am, but I'm fucking angry about it.
I'm really glad I had no background of Green Lantern coming into this
movie. This movie, I mean, even just from a cold, not knowing anything about Green Lantern standpoint, this movie suffers from a weak story, bad direction, and overall.
Also,
what?
Where the hell did Hal's brothers come from? They're not mentioned at all during the beginning of the fucking movie, and then
they're in the kitchen eating dinner as he's running out the door, or eating breakfast.
When he was a kid, though. I mean,
they weren't there.
I guess so.
They weren't there when he died. He was the only one there.
He was
when his father
6
died.
seconds.
The other brothers, nobody else was around.
I didn't register them at all. I didn't register them at all until he grows up. I'm like, who that? Why is he in these people's house?
Entirely ancillary.
That was pretty rough.
So, I mean, it suffered from poor direction, and it suffered from
continuity problems,
too much studio involvement. And I'm going to say this, and it might be the very first time I've ever said this. This movie had way too much CGI.
Mm-hmm.
And
the fucking race car.
All the constructs are fine. You need CGI for that, but there's no reason we needed to do all the Guardians of Oa as CGI. We're talking about a time where I can make Elijah Wood look like a hobbit. You can't tell me you can't. They looked cartoony.
Let's just talk about the elephant in the room.
I'm about to get to there. Let's talk about the suit. The suit. Josh, the suit is still a suit. It's not a part of his skin. And because they wanted to make it a part of his skin.
They did make it that way, though.
They made it energy.
They said that, actually. It wasn't a suit. It became his skin, and they laid out that premise in the movie, so you had to adopt it as doctrine.
Where did the clothes go?
No, the clothes go under the skin, CJ. It doesn't matter.
Don't wear a hoodie or a leather jacket. That'll hurt.
That's right.
My problem is from a technical standpoint, when he starts emoting or doing things like little nuances, it looks cartoony.
It does.
Yeah, for sure.
The biggest thing that I can point to is when he first flies, you see his shoulders kind of move left and right, and his head kind of just floats in space. It looks wrong.
And unfortunately, the other part too is the suit is green. And everyone knows a green screen and knows when things are off on a green screen. So our brains are already trained to notice when stuff like that occurs.
Yeah.
And there it is in bright fucking green, yelling at you at the neckline. Just yelling at you at the neckline.
Guys, it's one of those things that
It was a bold choice, but
it's
it did not pay
one of
off.
those things that I just shut off and I said, you know what? It's not going to be perfect. I just have to ignore it and take everything else at face value.
Yeah,
So
but there was no reason they had to do it that way.
no,
That's
really?
yeah.
I mean, that
Nah, you
that
could've done
suit
this.
is pretty outrageous. Like it's
You
how do
could've-
you do it without?
that suit is literally just green and black, and then you can do like some CGI touches, much like they did the Captain Marvel suit.
I mean, you're talking about something 8 years later. This is like Occam's razor. You know what I mean?
The
4 times
technology
over.
was still the technology.
No, come
was-
on. The
and
technology
2011
is
absolutely
way
was
better
there.
now.
You would do this the same way you would do the Fantastic Four suits. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason to not model it after something that was out contemporarily at that time. The Fantastic Four suits would have been a great model for what Hal should have been wearing.
But his suit is about imagination. It's not a static thing. Like it's
but
not.
listen, hold on. Here's what you do though. You get him the regular suit, right? A plain suit. And then add those effects where if when he made a Conjuring, you see the ripple of energy. Maybe animate the logo a little bit. I'm cool with that, but don't make it 100% CGI.
Right.
All right. Look, I'm gonna be the guy that continually defends the suit because I don't think it's an egregious
And
issue.
I think
like,
the mask is a problem too.
I think.
oh well,
I
the
think,
mask is stupid, but like beyond that,
I think it. Just
my
does not
problem
look
my
right.
problem is the size of Skarsgård's face.
Yes. The prosthetic work on
Let's
him.
talk about some of the
oh
Earth
my god,
characters.
just the growth. It's like like his fucking neck hatched a goiter that became
Can I
a
say
face.
something? Can I say something?
Can I finish?
Can I finish? This is one of the only movies I was watching this and like I don't know I definitely didn't pick it up the first couple times I saw it. This is one of the only movies where like I got to the end and I was like, well, they were really ragging on being smart, being a book like an
being a
intelligent
nerd. Yeah,
person.
being a nerd. Yeah.
Like it was all like the nerd is the creepy milady fedora guy.
That's right.
He's a neckbeard.
He's sniffing Blake Lively. He's more than awkward.
I'd have sniffed her hair too.
Right, but he's more than awkward. He's creepy.
Oh
And-
yeah,
and
he's a fucking
and it's not
he's a
because of
stalker.
anything, but
No.
because he's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you should be the dumb jock cocky guy. Like this is the first movie I've ever seen do that, and like
You're right.
it was so weird and off putting for me.
Well, especially when you consider that not only was it apparent that was his role, it was then essentially validated by his father's subliminal thoughts.
Yeah.
Like you're like, he doesn't have a complex. People actually don't like him because he's a nerd.
Yeah,
Holy shit. Yeah. It was very
off-putting.
but also in that same vein, like Hal recognized his own sort of shallow existence and corrected that
Mhm.
in multiple ways, right? I mean, he connected with the crazy scary genius guy.
Hector.
Yeah.
Taito Waititi, by the way.
No.
Wasn't that Tom? Didn't you say Tom?
No,
No,
he's
it
was-
talking about Hector
My
Hammond.
bad.
Skarsgård. It was
Skarsgård.
yeah.
My bad.
Yeah.
Ignore me.
Taika Waititi's character is completely useless and unneeded. Let's move.
It was useless and unneeded. But like,
Yes.
but like, you know, how, like,
I'm sorry, that
look,
was a surprise voice. I
Hal
didn't
Hal
realize.
shut off his shit to connect with the guy who was a crazy fucker.
Yeah.
But like there was an attempt there, and Brian, I totally agree with you. For the most part, the movie is it is a nerd bashing. It really is. And then you know the nerds of us are then granted Hal's goodwill toward the end after the nerd has gone completely fucking nuclear.
The thing is, like Hector Hammond was never that. He was one of these guys who was so smart he was arrogant about it.
Yeah.
And that's not what they did in this. It was just he's They just made him.
Oh no, he definitely was arrogant. There was no doubt that he
But that-
viewed
that
himself
wasn't where
as
the
better
focus
than.
was.
You know, he viewed himself as better than for sure. And that was the reason for his just rebuke of the way he was treated at the whole reason he caused the helicopter incident was because of the way he was treated versus Hal or fucking Blake Lively. I can't remember.
Carol.
Thank you. It just, there was definitely arrogance there, regardless of the mistreatment that may have happened before. He certainly had a sense of entitlement.
I do want to say, before I forget, my favorite part of the movie is Carol saying, "I've seen you naked. You think I wouldn't recognize you because you covered your cheekbones."
That's right. That actually is my favorite.
Which I found
line
out
as well.
was an ad lib by Blake Lively.
Yes, it was.
Which makes me love her even more.
Well, and that's why they got married, clearly.
Bottom line, would you recommend this movie to somebody?
Yeah, I'd say it's worth a watch. It's worth
I don't
it's worth one watch.
I don't know about that.
You guys are assholes.
Maybe.
Listen, are you entertained by Ryan Reynolds' quips and quick wit?
I'll just have you watch.
What? No.
Deadpool at that
No.
point.
Yes or no? Are you entertained by Ryan Reynolds' quips and quick wit? Yes or no? Are you interested in Blake Lively?
There are plenty of movies I can watch if I'm interested.
Okay,
in
but
Blake
are you?
Lively.
But she's in this one. Are you interested in Blake Lively? Yes or no?
Sure.
Okay. Do you like superhero movies?
Yes.
Okay. Seems like it's worth a watch.
But
Here's my
that's the
approach.
thing. It depends on the person.
Here's my
Josh.
approach. I would say this. Do you like superhero movies?
yes.
Do you like watching movies that are so bad they're good?
Yes.
You'll like Green Lantern,
Okay, good. So we
I will
agree.
say yes.
It's worth a watch.
but only from a mockery standpoint. So I got some other fun facts for the movie. First off, would anyone like to guess at some of the taglines?
Taglines for Green Lantern?
Yes.
I know one of the taglines.
One of it's
so
pretty
I'm not-
obvious.
I can will it into existence.
No, the obvious one obviously is the Green Lantern oath. The other one is
Brightest day, darkest night.
In Brightest Day and Blackest Night, no evil
Blackest
shall
Night.
escape my sight.
Yeah.
And then there was one that says, in our darkest hour, there will be light.
Yep. And then the other one is one of us becomes one of them.
Oh.
Whew. All right. This movie, it was estimated for $200 million. On June 17th, 2011 is wide release. Opening weekend, $53 million.
Wow.
Gross USA, $116 million. Cumulative worldwide gross, $219 million.
Oh,
So
they barely made their money back.
They didn't. After marketing, they didn't make their money back.
After marketing, they did not.
And this was heavily marketed.
I thought the movie budget included marketing.
No.
Normally it does not. It's just the actual movie.
There's usually a separate budget for the marketing of the
Oh,
movie.
good God.
So, not good.
And this was heavily marketed. They probably spent another $100 million just marketing
It was heavily marketed for
It
sure.
was, so, not very good. So, bottom line, all right. It is movie.
It is movie.
It is movie.
Official That Kind of Nerd review. It is movie.
It is movie.
All right. I want to thank everybody for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this retro review of Green Lantern. And until next time, thank you for supporting, and have a wonderful day. Good night and good luck.
Well, welcome to the club, 'cause you are that kind of nerd.